All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are cracking open a really fascinating corporate mystery. It's about a strange pattern hidden deep in the data that suggests some people are, believe it or not, practically immune to pay cuts. And the reason why, well, it's far more interesting than you'd think.
You've probably seen this happen, right? A manager makes a call that seems totally logical on paper, and in one department, it works beautifully. But then, in another department, the exact same action causes a complete and total meltdown. It's one of the biggest puzzles in business, and the answer isn't hiding in a spreadsheet. It's buried in the hidden psychology of the team.
Okay, so let's really dig into this with a concrete example. We're going to see how one single management action can land in three completely different ways, and in doing so, reveal this kind of invisible wiring inside every organization.
So picture this. A company decides to mandate unpaid vacation to save some money. Now, for a team with what we'll call a purple or tribal mindset, where the group is everything, this can actually be seen as a good thing. It's a shared sacrifice for the tribe. But for an orange team, a team focused on individual achievement and results, oh, it's a disaster. They see it as an inefficient roadblock, a sign the company is failing and blocking their personal path to success. Same action, totally opposite results.
This brings us to a very specific and honestly a very surprising piece of data that was found in a global survey of over 1,600 professionals. It's a statistical clue that points to a specific group of people who just seem to be playing by a different set of rules when it comes to their compensation.
And this number right here, this is the key to the whole thing. It's a negative correlation. Now, in statistics, that points to an inverse relationship. And what it shows is a clear, undeniable link between a very specific way of thinking and the likelihood of having your salary cut. If we can understand this one connection, the entire puzzle just clicks open.
So the mindset we're talking about comes from a model called spiral dynamics, and it's known as yellow. Now, don't think of these as fixed personality types. It's not like that. They're more like different lenses for seeing the world. And the yellow mindset, it's all about systems thinking. It's the ability to see the entire chessboard. You know how all the different pieces and strategies connect to form a larger, complex whole.
So let's connect the dots here. That negative number we just saw means that the more someone thinks in this big picture yellow way, the less likely they are to get their pay cut. It is a clear statistical pattern suggesting they're somehow protected. So the big question is, why? And this quote just nails it. It perfectly illustrates the core idea. For someone with a yellow mindset, compensation isn't just one big pot of money. No, it's layered. Salary is a contract. It represents their core functional value, their expertise. But benefits, things like insurance, bonuses, or perks, those are seen as variables that can and probably should adapt to the changing economic environment. And the data backs this distinction up perfectly. Just as that quote suggested, we see that negative correlation with salary cuts. They're protecting their functional worth. But look here, there's a positive correlation with having benefits reduced. They're more willing to be flexible on the systemic conditions, accepting changes to the periphery while fiercely protecting the core.
Now, to really see how different this is, let's contrast it with another mindset from the spiral dynamics model red, which is all about power and force. The data here shows a positive correlation. So for this mindset, a leader who is strong enough to just take their money is demonstrating power. And while they might not like it, they accept it. It's the law of the jungle, a completely different reality from the contract-based world of the yellow mindset.
So how does all this build into something practical? This one data point is fascinating, sure, but it's just one tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle. It's actually one of over 13,000 similar correlations that are fed into a predictive model designed to do something pretty incredible: calculate the algebra of conscience for an entire organization. The model works through this 5-step process you see here. It starts by surveying the soft stuff, the culture, the fear, the trust within a company, and it translates all of that into a hard data profile. From there, it can simulate how different actions, like a pay cut, would ripple through that unique psychological landscape. It basically allows leaders to test drive major decisions before they implement them. First, the model generates this psychological snapshot of the company. You can think of it as a DNA profile of the organization's culture. In this example, you see high scores for those tribal purple and power-focused red mindsets, combined with high fear and low trust. So this isn't just a team, it's a terrified tribe, huddled together, looking for a strong leader to either save them or dominate them. Now, once you know you're dealing with a terrified tribe, you can simulate a management decision. Let's see what happens if we propose an across-the-board pay cut to this specific group. And here's the butterfly effect. The spreadsheet shows a clear win, $2 million in savings. But the model, it forecasts a catastrophic 75% collapse in the leadership's legitimacy and trust. The action saves money, sure, but it destroys the social fabric, proving that the decision would actually be a massive net loss. It makes the invisible costs visible.
But let's go back to that yellow anomaly. This data brings up a much deeper, more critical question about why these mindsets seem to be protected from pay cuts in the first place. Is it that people with yellow thinking are just so strategically valuable that companies literally can't afford to cut their pay? Or is something else going on? Is this pattern a reflection of a deeper, structural advantage in our economy?
And this is the critical question, isn't it? Does a yellow mindset lead to economic security? Or does economic security and privilege create the space for a yellow mindset to develop in the first place? It's a classic chicken or egg problem. It's very possible their protection from pay cuts is built on the fact that others in the system are taking those cuts. And the real danger here is using this data to justify inequality, saying success comes from a superior mindset rather than from a privileged starting point. So, after digging through all of this data on mindsets and models, what's the big takeaway? What should this mean for how we lead? The point here isn't just to predict what's going to happen, it's to fundamentally change how we lead. By making the invisible dynamics of trust, fear, and values visible, we can move away from leadership based on gut feelings and bias and toward leadership that is both more empathetic and more effective, because it's based on data. And so I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world where the fears, the motivations, and even the conscience of an organization can be modeled and predicted, what is the future role of a human leader? It's a fascinating question, and one we'll all be grappling with. Thanks for joining this explainer.